And yeah, the video I just did from Economic Collapse blog, he was quoting something from Wolf Richter. Let's head over to wolfstreet.com and see what he's got going on over here, because he seems to think U.S. dollar status as global reserve currency edges down even further. And I also saw some on Zero Hedge. Oh, as that's happening, Russia is like almost panic buying gold right now. Is the euro dead yet? And how is the Chinese renminbi doing? Total global foreign exchange reserves in all currency rose to $11.4 trillion in the fourth quarter of 2018, according to the IMF's just released coffer data. These foreign exchange reserves do not include the Federal Reserve's holdings of dollar-denominated assets such as Treasury securities and mortgage-backed securities, but the amount of U.S. dollar-denominated exchange reserves ticked down to $6.62 trillion, and the dollar's share of global foreign exchange reserve dropped to 61.7%, which is the lowest since 2013. In 1999, the euro became an accounting currency in the financial markets, replacing the European currency unit. On January 1st, 2002, euro banknotes were released into circulation and gradually replaced the national banknotes of the original member states of the Eurozone. Note the drop of the dollar's share from 71.5% in 2001 to 66.5% in 2002. Today, the euro has replaced 19 national currencies, and the dollar share is down to 61.7%. In quarter four, the euro's share of foreign exchange reserves rose to 20.7%, the highest since quarter four 2014. The creation of the euro, the idea of eventually consolidating all European currencies into one big currency, was an effort to knock the dollar off its hegemonic pedestal. The goal was for the euro to eventually reach parity with the US dollar. Then the euro debt crisis happened. The degree of dominance of the US dollar as a global reserve currency is determined by the amounts of US dollar denominated financial assets, US Treasury securities, corporate bonds, etc., that central banks other than the Fed are holding in their foreign exchange reserves. The dollar's role as a global reserve currency diminishes when central banks shed their dollar holdings and take on assets denominated in other currencies. The combined share of the dollar and the euro edged down to 82.4% in quarter four 2018. The remaining currencies make up 17.6% of allocated global reserve currencies. On October 1st, 2016, the IMF added the Chinese renminbi to its currency basket, the SDR, elevating it to an official global reserve currency. Hopes by some folks that it would dethrone the dollar as hegemon have, it's kind of like Pokemon, hegemon, Pokemon, have been disappointed. But little by little, the renminbi is gaining. In quarter four 2018, with a share of 1.89%, it beat the Canadian dollar for the first time and moved up to fifth place on the list. Now, of course, dollar is still 61.7%. The next best one is the euro at 20.7%, Japanese yen at 5.2, UK pound 4.4, Chinese renminbi 1.2, Canadian dollar 1.8, Australian dollar 1.6, Swiss franc 0.15, and then my favorite stat known as other. Other what? Well, just other. 2.48%. Scrolling down here, as the IMF points out, this data is based on the currency's share of allocated reserves. Not all central banks disclose to the IMF how their total foreign exchange reserves are allocated among specific currencies. But disclosure has increased and the data is becoming more complete. In quarter four 2014, allocated reserves accounted for only 59% of total reserves. Now they account for 94%. And a special word about the theory that the U.S., as the country with the global reserve currency, must have a large trade deficit with the rest of the world. This must have is clearly not the case because the Eurozone, with the second largest reserve currency, has a large trade surplus with the rest of the world, showing that a major reserve currency can be backed by a big trade surplus. Japan also has a large trade surplus. But there is another way of looking at this. The fact that the dollar is the largest reserve currency and largest international funding currency allows the U.S. to easily fund those massive trade deficits, which has made the trade deficits possible over the past 2 decades. This may not always be the case in the future, But so far, so good, as they say. The U.S. trade deficit goes out of whack as corporate America searches for cheap labor and tax benefits. Read, good lordy, what a banner year 2018 was for China, other countries, and corporate America, which is another link. And I'll go ahead and put the main link up for you to go check this out if you want to. Take care.